Dear learners, welcome to this session. In this session, we would be discussing the empowerment part, the empowerment through self-help groups, that is the SHGs, and specifically for the rural people. I would be concentrating more on the rural people than on the women in this case, though SHGs, the empowerment of SHGs is basically related to the women empowerment. So, it would be a general concept, and in a couple of slides we would be discussing the women empowerment part. So, when we talk about the empowerment, what is empowerment? How does one get empowered? We have been listening to this word off and on quite number of times, like empower yourself, empower others. What exactly is empowerment? Power we know, some kind of a strength, inherent ability, that is the power. How do you empower? So, empowerment in the context of gender and development specifically, it is related to that, and basically the whole concept started in the formal parlance. It started in 1985 with a women's conference held in Kenya in Nairobi. So, basically the empowerment in the context of gender and development is usually defined as a process or processes rather than an end product. So, it is the whole series of events which occur to reach to a certain goal. So, usually the studies have showed that empowerment basically focuses on three major areas. Perkins in 1995 has given these three areas which needs to be discussed, and these are the main areas which relate to the empowerment. So, when we see these three areas, the first area is the individual action or self empowerment. So, if you're trying to empower somebody or some rural people, that person has to be motivated from inside. He or she should take an individual action. So, the first step in empowerment is the self empowerment. The second one is the organizational or interpersonal context for empowerment. That means the organizations or the people around you, the society around you, the people whom you interact with, they come into picture to empower or relate to empowerment. And the third aspect is the social action. The action can be in form of gender issues, action can be in form of developmental issues, it can be in any forms. So, all these three areas when combined together, they give the definition of empowerment. So, in all, it is a process. It is not a goal which is achieved, it is a process through which we reach a particular goal. Certain activities which are being done. So, empowerment is a very slow process, and it is hard to measure. You cannot measure empowerment because you do not even have the evidence of empowerment. So, the core of the empowerment processes involves the fundamental psychological and psychosocial processes and changes, the mobility, and establishing a public presence. Women empowerment in the context of an SHG member is very important, and that has been related and that has been discussed a lot. As I said earlier also, that women empowerment is empowerment in terms of gender, especially women, is more related to or relatable to SHG. As per Mirada 2002, there are 6 components of empowerment, and these 6 components, they decide what exactly is the empowerment. The first component is the influence over economic resources of the family and participation in economic decision making. Usually this is related to women, that is why they have considered all these aspects, but it goes with other genders also. So, when a woman is having economic resources, when women is having the access to the economic resources of the family, and of course participation in generating the income and decision making related to the economics of the family, then in that case we say that the women or the individual is empowered. The second component is the ability to influence the decision. That is the purpose of loan, the household infrastructure, the major household purchases, the occupational issues, the sale or mortgage of assets. That means the individual is involved in all sorts of decision making, and the individual is able to influence the decisions related to these aspects. For example, if the family head wants to build a house or have to buy certain household material for decorating the house, for household purchases, for giving a better lifestyle, in that case the other part or the other individuals in the household, they do have the ability to participate in the decision and they are able to suggest certain measures. So, this is again an empowerment. Then the third component is the ability to influence or participate in decisions which are related to the professional status, the educational attainment of the women, the own development as an individual. The self development is also involved. Now, there are certain cases where the women are quite educated, they have a certain professional status, but they are not developed. They are not considered to be developed. They just are being confined into the four walls of the house, and they are not able to participate in the decision making. Then in that case, this is not empowerment. So, if they are having the individual ability, inherent ability to empower themselves, then only the ability to influence and participate in decisions they come into picture. The power over local polity and participation in socio-political decision making, for example, involvement in formation of SHG meetings, its political activities, the village panchayat meetings, the panchayat elections, etc. Now, if the women is involved in these activities, she can play a leadership role in this case. Then all these are related to the women in particular. Otherwise, it is applicable, this concept can be applicable to other genders as well. The influence over other decisions pertaining to general welfare of the family with respect to all members and with respect to children specifically. If you see the example in present times where we are fighting, we are trying to be proactive in understanding the crisis situation and reacting to it in a way where it is beneficial to all, online education has become very prominent for children. Now, in this case, even the women from the rural background, they are participating in the education of their children. They are trying to monitor what the child is doing, and with the mobile itself they are able to run the class, they are able to help the children to attend the classes. So, this is one of the basic reasons for empowerment as well. Then of course, increased interaction with other members of a group and community. I mean, the women is not a silent worker, the women is able to participate with the group, with the community. Improvement in the technical and managerial skills of the members. Now, supporting, it is a kind of a supporting role where the empowerment plays a major part. So, these are the 6 components which are basically in specific related to women. When we talk about empowerment, the relevance and utility of human development initiatives are enhanced when there is congruity with human nature and the feeling of self-worth. Self-worth is one of the most important aspects. If you are not valuing your own self, then empowerment does not have any effect The empowerment through different resources does not have any effect on you. So, self-worth, realizing one's own worth, whether you are confined inside the house, whether you are working outside, whether you are mingling with people, you need to understand that as an individual you do have a self-worth. Every individual is different, every individual has to play his or her own role. So, in that case, if the empowerment is to exist, even if it is through SHG movement, the first and foremost part would be feeling of self-worth, which is the core of empowerment. Another core element of empowerment is community development, which is based again on the self-help principles. You see, self-worth, self-dependency, self-help, self-motivation, everything related to inherent abilities, and everybody has it, but in certain circumstances this gets suppressed. So, that needs to be taken out. So, in the development sphere, the gaining of power by the vulnerable is often called an empowerment. Hence, empowerment is a multidimensional process which enables the individuals or a group of individuals to realize their full identity and powers in all spheres of life. It consists of greater access to knowledge and resources, greater autonomy in decision making to enable greater ability to plan their lives. So, they are better skilled, because women are one of the best managers, and that can be seen when they manage the house so well. So, in that case they have the inherent ability to perform certain roles, to multitask. So, in that case the feeling of self-worth, the self-help principles and self-dependency, that helps in empowering them. When we talk about the types of empowerment, because all these types will come in our discussion later on, when we talk about the types of empowerment, it is the ability to do something about your own needs, your own wants, your opinions, your beliefs, and of course your feelings. So, when you are able to express all these, then you are termed to be empowered. Empowerment can be of economic in nature, that is economic empowerment. It can be political in nature, which is known as political empowerment. It can be cultural empowerment, it can be societal empowerment, and of course it can be the national empowerment. So, in this case, the most important empowerments which we would be discussing, which is specifically related to the rural parts, is the political, the cultural and the economic, political and societal empowerment. The cultural and national empowerment, when the empowerment level reaches to crosses certain boundaries and it is more open, then in that case it reaches to a national level. When we talk about the strategies for empowerment of women, so when we talk about the women empowerment, so because now we are dealing with women empowerment per se, and that is the main aspect or main motive of SHGs. The whole concept in itself started with the women empowerment, in encouraging women empowerment through SHG. To adopt a sector specific, there is a threefold strategy for empowering women. As I said, different types of empowerment we have discussed. So, in those types of empowerment, they become a threefold strategy for empowering the women based on the prescriptions. These are prescribed strategies based on the prescriptions of the national policy for empowerment of women in our country. The first one is the social empowerment. Now, social empowerment, it includes creating an enabling environment, facilitating environment through various affirmative policies and programs for development of the women, besides providing them with easy and equal access to all the basic and minimum services, so as to enable them to realize their full potential, because women have lot of potential in them. So, they need to realize their potential, what exactly they want to do. The second aspect when we talked about types of empowerment is the economic empowerment. Now in economic empowerment, it ensures the provision of training, employment and income generation activities with both forward and backward linkage. Now in this case, the forward and backward linkage is very important. That means forward linkage with the other parties or the self promoting agencies and banks, and backward linkages with the family, with the ultimate objective of making all potential women economically independent and self reliant through the following approaches. So we discussed two strategies, the social empowerment, the economic empowerment, and that is the societal empowerment and the economic empowerment. And in this case, one strategy is the political empowerment is developing the role of leadership amongst the women. Women should come forward to discuss certain roles, to discuss certain issues, to discuss certain challenges. There are certain issues and challenges which only women face. So if the women comes forward to discuss those challenges, then only the others will understand those issues. So organizing women into self-help groups, this takes place in the leadership roles. So there are various poverty alleviation programs running around the country like Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana. Then we have Swarn Jayanti Shehri Rozgar Yojana. There is a Gram Swarozgar Yojana is for the rural women, and Shehri Rozgar Yojana is for the women residing in the urban areas. Then we have Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, that is RMK, which supports for there is a training program which is the support for training and employment program, that is STEP. Training cum production centers for women offerings, they range from they have the economic option with necessary support measures which enhance their capabilities and earning capacities. This is very important, the earning capacities with the ultimate objective of making them self-reliant and economically independent. Another few strategies could be increasing access to credit for women either through the establishment of new microcredit mechanisms or microfinancial institutions catering to women or strengthening existing arrangements in these areas. The third part would be the gender justice, to eliminate all forms of gender discrimination and allowing women to enjoy not only their rights, the existing rights which they do not even know, and freedom on par with men in spheres like political, economic, social, civil, cultural, etc., which we talked about earlier in this section. Now when we try to relate it to the SHGs, how SHGs they have led to the empowerment of women, how SHGs they lead to empowerment. First, they allow the rural people to organize themselves in a group. These individuals can raise their voice collectively rather than individually, because most of the times individually you are not heard. So you have to work collectively. SHGs they teach people in the rural areas on managing their finances. SHGs they create awareness on various topics, on different topics in rural areas. So then the empowerment process begins by making them aware. So awareness, generating awareness is one part of or first step of empowerment. When we see this diagram, you will see the empowerment and SHGs, how they are related. You have the women empowerment, you have the social empowerment, you have skill development, you have financial empowerment, and you have basic facilities provided to the rural masses. That is also a kind of empowerment. We will discuss this one by one when we talk about women empowerment. We have already discussed a lot of part in women empowerment, but we discuss major points of women empowerment. Most of the SHGs, as I stated earlier, have been started by women and for women. They started with them. They have empowered women to create a livelihood for themselves. Women are empowered to handle their own finances. Through these SHGs, they can now take part in the rural democratic process and for the betterment of the society. The other part is the social empowerment. This is another strategy that any person from any caste or religion can join SHG. That is important. The free access to membership has created equality amongst the rural people. People from backward classes can also join SHG or form their own SHG for their development. They can work towards the abolishment of caste discrimination, which is one of the most important aspects in rural areas. And they can also sensitize people on discrimination based on caste and religion and inculcate a sense of equality amongst themselves. The third aspect of empowerment in SHG would be skill development. Several schemes have been launched by the government to develop skills among the members of SHGs depending on the need of that rural area. These skills of course can empower the members to start a small enterprise and take part in the economic development. The SHGs, they can further impart these skills to young generation in rural areas. So, it can be transferred, and in this case one thing is very important, that for ages these skills which have been existing, and due to the technology and other things, these skills were disappearing. These skills can be retained. These skills can be transferred to young generations, so that the whole process continues and it does not stop at a place. This can also lead to employment generation, it is obvious. The financial empowerment part includes the SHGs functions like they act as banks and they provide the facility of loan and savings to its members. SHGs, they guide their members on maintaining a regular savings account. These savings are deposited with SHGs and accounts are maintained. Members of SHGs have the facilities of internal credit or bank loans. This will help the members in unfavorable circumstances where they are not able to generate the income. The fifth part is the basic facilities. The financial and social empowerment enables the development of the basic facilities. This is very important, such as education, healthcare, hygiene. These are one of the most important parts, and in present situation these have become all the more important, and specifically for women these particular areas need to be taken care of, and many SHGs, they are working on these areas and they are trying to sensitize women on these areas. The SHGs, they promote awareness regarding the importance on these topics, and they can borrow funds from the bank for the development of the rural areas. And in this case basic facilities, a very good example is of building toilets at home. This is one of the basic facility which one needs. So, building toilets or making toilets at home, individual homes having their own toilets, that is one of the basic facilities, and for this the SHGs are also working, and even the government is joining the hands with them to provide these kind of services. To summarize, we can say that empowerment is a process of awareness, that is the first step. It is a process, it is not the end product, it is a process, and the first step is awareness. Second would be capacity building, that is involving the training, participatory nature, greater participation, greater decision making power, control mechanism or the ability to control certain unusual situations, and the transformative actions. So, SHGs are one way to lead to the empowerment, and specifically to the women. Thank you so much.